everybody. My name is Nancy McLaughlin. I am thrilled to be here today. This is such an awesome event, and I have loved learning more from everybody here. So let's get started. As I said, my name is Nancy McLaughlin, and I'm excited to be chatting with you all today. I am with the dynamic team here at Tinuiti. I run our commerce media division, and we have a wide experience with Amazon. We've been working with them for over a decade now, and test and learn is in our DNA through our ASAP program. We manage over $4 billion in media spend, and we consistently are a strong Amazon partner. And while I am so proud of the progress that we've made, I know that we are just getting started. And so, the way that I think about a full funnel media approach, I was recently reading a study by McKinsey that said 75% of shoppers are now omnichannel, utilizing multiple digital touchpoints. What does this mean? This means that we have to really concentrate on curating that story and that message to our audiences across the funnel. We can't just pick and choose how we speak to our customers anymore. We have to make sure that there's this connected experience. And so when we think about this, we are a performance-based agency. We have our roots in performance advertising. And this doesn't mean that we're stuck in ROAS jail. We have to think about a total business growth strategy. But what it does is it influences our ability and how we plan for campaign or upper funnel campaign management. And so, team, we are going to be efficient today. We're going to hit two key topics. Number one, we're going to speak about the evolution of Amazon audiences. And then number two, we're going to speak about how to curate that message using HonestCo as a case study. Okay, so let's think about this and throw it back a little bit. I actually started managing Amazon ads back in 2014. And that was really exciting. It was just getting started. It was barely kind of off the ground. I remember to set a bid on sponsored brands. Back then it was called HSAs. There was actually a toggle to set your bid. I see some nodding, so people also played with that toggle. And I'm like, what was that engineer thinking? Like, he was just having a good time. And so that's great. But we've come a long way since then. When I think about AAP, part of the key differentiator back then was this Amazon programmatic managed services. However, we know that there was limitations then. There was pre-built audiences that was in market and lifestyle. So while there were those audiences which allowed for a whole new way to creatively talk to our audiences, the challenge here was how do we connect audiences through the funnel? And so an example of this is, let's say you served your streaming TV ad, and now you want to go and reconnect with that customer or that audience at a lower funnel purchase point opportunity. That was not possible back then. So why am I telling you this? Why does this matter? It matters because we know now that customers are touching that digital or have multiple digital touch points. And so being able to connect a relevant creative message with the right audience is so important. And those core principles are still what make Amazon ads such a powerful brand building tool. So we fast forward to 2017. Interestingly enough, I actually joined Tinuiti in 2017, right as the AAP was evolving to create more advanced audience capabilities. At this point, it allowed for us to think about how do we kind of curate some more of this messaging. And so what happened in 2017 was we were able to, as marketers, create our own audience segments through the self-service DSP. And then finally, that brings us to 2023, the release of AMC audiences. And we now have the power to marry creative message with specific consumer behaviors at a granular level at more scale than ever before. This is really interesting because the way that I think about AMC for now is at least in two key areas: insight and action. And a lot of us today have spoken about the insight piece, and I think that is incredible. It's more data, Again, back when I started managing ads, we always spoke about this black box, and now Amazon is showing us and sharing that data with us, and that is incredible, especially as marketers who are so excited to serve the right message to our audience. Part of that, though, the second piece is action. It's important that we use data to drive action. And I think the insights are awesome in how we think about total strategy, but actually being able to use that data to drive customers and to drive action is vital to success today. And so as we think about Amazon Marketing Cloud with endless opportunities, you might be asking, well, where do I start? That seems like a lot. And so what I would challenge you is start with good questions. Questions are key to understanding what you're actually going to use the data for. And so one of the things that we do is we actually looked back at Amazon's own principles, customer obsession, and we said, okay, let's talk to our customer about what some of their challenges are. That was the Honest Company. And so we've been working with the Honest Company for a long time now, and they have a really good full funnel approach. Lots of sophistication. They have tested a lot of different products. They are active across all sponsored ad types, as well as on the DSP. Mobile, video, DSP, they are using all of it. However, we also know that over time, it does become harder and harder to make sure that we are pushing towards optimization, to make sure that we are making the most of every dollar. And so our team turned to AMC to understand where there might be potential gaps in our customer acquisition strategy. Again, thinking about how do we get a more curated response? How do we ensure that we're nurturing that customer along the way? And so what we did was we actually looked back at the last 3 months of campaigns, and we found almost 25% of customers were leaving product in the cart. That accounts for almost 30% incremental revenue. That is wild, 30%. And as a mom of a 10-month-old, I know that products like diapers should be in the home and not in the cart. There is a limited customer lifetime value on some of these products. How do we make sure that when the customer needs the product, that we are at top of mind? Now, Honest Co does have a very expansive range, and so we know that there's often abilities to cross-sell and upsell. But when we think about their core categories, how do we make sure that we are creating habitual buying, that it is a part of that checklist, and that they're continuing to repurchase? So what we did was we started to think more about this. We started to think about how do we curate this audience messaging? And this is something that I would ask the crowd, do you guys know your add to cart number? Do you know how much value is sitting in your customers' carts? I think that's really important to ask ourselves as we think about how do we become more efficient in a place that is getting louder and with more messaging. And so what we did using Amazon's audience creation capabilities was we actually built out separate segments that spoke to each of those audiences. So we did diapers, personal care, and wipes. And as I mentioned, part of this is creating that habitual buying. So what we did was we partnered it with a subscribe and save coupon. Again, we want to make sure that we're building that practice in. And what I'll call out as a differentiator here is when you log into AMC and you start to create those audiences, there are those 5 preset ways to do it. I think it's, taking that extra step on how do we make sure that we're being specific? How do we match the creative to the action? How do we drive insight? And we're going to get a little bit more into that. But I think that's an important call out, is not just having your add to cart as one total audience. And so what we did was we started testing this on the 1st of August. How do we go from a mass message to a niche message? How do we make sure that, again, we're nurturing that customer and bringing them to the point of conversion? And the results speak for themselves. This is really awesome. What this says is that we actually beat our ROAS target by 172%. That is huge. So not only are we getting customers that had products in the cart that may not have purchased, this campaign actually then beat performance goals. Number 2, new to brand, cost per acquisition. We beat our benchmark. It was 65% lower than what the benchmark was. Again, this is a curated audience, a curated message that we are now speaking to and able to lower that cost to bring those customers in and have that final purchase. And then finally, subscribe and save. I find this really exciting, again, because I am somebody who, as I think about CPG products, it is really important to me that we build strategies around habitual buying. And so when I see a subscribe and save at 55% lower, that to me is the biggest win on this slide. And it's really important that we think about how do we make sure that we continue to nurture that. One call out here is this is layered, right? This is layered on top of a full funnel approach that we spoke about in the beginning. And so thinking about how do all of these pieces work together. So you might be asking, well, what's next? Part of it is thinking about how do we push this strategy further. And so what we did was we went ahead and we created additional segments. The first one is we're thinking about customers that were exposed to a video ad or video campaigns that are upper funnel, and we're introducing them to a point of purchase. They are interested in this, whether it's diapers or personal care. Wow, diapers. That would actually be a great idea. I'll submit that to Honest. Diapers or wipes and personal care. And so how do we bring them to that point of purchase? The second one is they searched category keywords. This is important. This means that somebody may not be ready to purchase our product. And so we actually are now speaking to them about education. Why should they pick Honest? What are the ingredients involved? What are the category terms that they're using to search for these types of products? And we're matching our creative to meet that need. And then finally, clicked on a sponsored product ad. This is important because it shows actually intent. And so when we clicked on an ad but didn't purchase, how do we go ahead and help convert that customer? So what is next? What to do with this information? Number 1, I would say full funnel approach. And that might be a buzzword, so I hear you on that. But it is important that you take a microscope to that full funnel. What are the different pieces that you're thinking about? And then once you have that and you have that working, I would say log in and see, do you have access to audience betas in your AMC? What are you doing with that? It's actually a pretty user-friendly platform, and there are steps to follow. When you're thinking about that full funnel optimization, what are the different levers that you can pull to help move that customer down the journey? And then, I know ABCs are easy. ABOs are a lot harder to do, but we should always be optimizing. We should always be thinking about how do we push it further? What should we be testing? Should we be testing every product for a certain strategy? Maybe, maybe not. How do we think about getting a little more creative on how to, again, make sure that not only are we pushing the right message at the right time, but we're helping move those customers down the funnel. And then finally, stay relevant. This is important, right? Because at the end of the day, customers are, especially in a product where it's babies and especially in a personal care, this is a part of their daily lives. So how do we make sure that our creative message is engaging to our customers and is helping educate and move them along that funnel? And that's what I have for you today, team. So I appreciate your time. My colleague, Joe, will be chatting tomorrow with our client, Tom's. And so I'll leave you with a question. Do you know your add to cart number? Awesome. Thanks, everybody.